Tonight, Barbara Walters presents...
What makes me fascinating? What are the criteria for fascinating?
Well, first of all, we picked them.
Oh, well, there you have it. In that case, I'm honored.
Is this your teddy?
It's fun and it's breezy. Not many athletes or performers can go out there and say, hey, screw the system, I'm going to be who I want to be.
The people of Israel said, this isn't peace. And so they elected me to put peace back on course.
Forget fascinating people, I'm into cookies. Do you want an enormous empire?
Oh, sure.
You do?
Why not?
What did you mean when you said once that you like to live life in the red zone?
For me, in a lot of ways, it's all or nothing.
You say TV people are beneath pond scum, vain, demanding, pains in the ass.
I didn't say this about you.
No, you said it about TV journalists. I take it all very personally.
It's been a great year, it really has, and I think the most memorable experience of my life.
The 10 most fascinating people of 1996.
The key word is fascinating, and we have 10 people tonight who fit the bill, like the biggest film star in the world, Tom Cruise, whose year is about to get even bigger. This is also the year of Rosie ODonnell, Talk TV's newest sensation. And whoever thought I'd be cozy with basketball superstar Dennis Rodman. An interesting fact, he's not the tallest guest in our show. Author Michael Crichton is at 6'9". Gold medal winner Kerry Strugg is shorter than all of them. Tonight, the controversial new Prime Minister of Israel shares the stage with Martha Stewart, teaching me how to decorate cookies, and Elizabeth Dole, taped after her husband lost. There are more, including the one individual we call the most fascinating person of 1996. You want to guess? Well, you may be right, but you have to watch the whole show to find out. I promise the journey will be fascinating. Stay with us.
Barbara Walters presents the 10 most fascinating people of 1996, brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By DirecTV, satellite TV at its best. And by new Hydrians, breakthrough to the first water-based permanent cream color from Clairol.
Let's begin with the unusual story of a funny woman who made a conscious decision to slow things down a bit this year. She stopped traveling, took a regular day job so she could focus on being a good mom. And look what happened. Rosie ODonnell, the former supporting actress, became one of the leading ladies of Talk TV. Rosie.
Yes.
Talk shows have been failing, so many of them. Why do you think yours worked?
I think I just took Merv Griffin's show and stole it and did it for the 90s.
You mean warm and happy?
Warm and happy, nobody gets hurt, the guests have a good time, and it's fun to watch. Hit it, guys!
This year, Rosie was riveting.
You go, girl!
Just when everyone thought that trash had trashed the talk show, Rosie ODonnell charmed viewers and critics with a return to the good old days of Happy Talk. How does it feel to be considered not just a success, but fascinating?
To tell you the truth, it's sort of fascinating to me, too. When I sit back and look at it, I go, this has been pretty incredible ride so far.
Tell me your life story in under a minute.
Irish New York tomboy, lost her mother at 10, dreamed of fame and success and stardom, went on to achieve her dreams, and is blessed with a child.
Rosie adopted a son, Parker Jaron, in the spring of 1995, at the height of her movie career. She had hit a home run playing the All-American Best Friend, Madonna's, in 1992's A League of Their Own. Meg Ryan's in the mega hit Sleepless in Seattle. And Betty Rubble, Wilma's pal in the Flintstones.
Oh, I know.
You were comfortable being the best friend type?
Exactly. When I saw Valerie Harper on Mary Tyler Moore, I thought, that's me. I never had dreams of being Mary or being Lucy. I always knew Ethel and Rhoda, that was my role. And it was okay with me. I never had that aspiration, ever.
You were doing very well as an actress. I mean, your career was on the way up. And yet you decided to do a talk show.
Yes, that's because my baby.
Your mother died when you were just 10.
Yeah.
You must think a lot about her and how she would have felt about the baby? Does it bring back a whole other kind of experience?
Well, it's funny, you know, it definitely connects me more to her. When my sister, who was the first one in my family to have a child, you know, she was overwhelmed at the beginning, and her husband was working, and they were in a small apartment, and I was kind of just starting out in my career and trying to be there and helping. And one day she had just started to cry and said, you know, if Mommy was here, she would be helping. And then I started to cry. So there are moments that you feel the loss very strongly, and they usually involve your children.
Are you ready to adopt another child?
I would love to. I hope I have the fortune of having many.
Where are you at this point in your life?
I'm totally content, I have to say. I really am. I love my family is there for me, and the addition of this child and this job is great. I couldn't ask for a better job.
How many more years of Rosie?
As long as they'll have me. We have
a lot of years.
We have a 5-year contract. We'll see if after that people are like, I'm sick of her singing, and that toy thing is old, and she says everyone's delightful. Click. You know? I got a letter that somebody said, you know, you say everyone's a delight. Do you have a word that you keep saying during interviews?
Amazing.
You say amazing. See, now every time I say delight, I feel self-conscious.
I'll never say amazing again.
See, I have to not do a delight. But you, Barbara, are a delight.
And you, Rosie, are amazing. We leave the extremely down-to-earth Ms. O'Donnell for someone who's out of this world, or at least she has been for most of the year, living in a space station with 2 Russians. The most experienced astronaut in America is a 53-year-old mother of 3 grown children named Shannon Lucid.
When I was a little girl and I'd look up at the sky, there were many times I would dream of people going out and exploring space.
Biochemist Shannon Lucid has spent more time exploring space than any other woman and any other American. For 188 days, over half of this year, she made history as the first American woman to live and work aboard the Russian space station, Mir.
The best thing about being in outer space is that it's just really a fun thing to do. It's just a lot of fun to float around. It's a lot of fun to be able to look out the window and get a new perspective on the Earth and have nothing but a pane of glass between you and the universe.
Before Shannon could go into space, she had to shatter a glass ceiling. Born in China to missionary parents, she grew up in Oklahoma, strong in math and science, and wasn't happy when she learned that America's first astronauts would all be men.
I wrote a letter to Time magazine, and I said, why do we have only men that are being selected to be in the American space program?
In 1978, NASA began to recruit its first female astronauts.
My application must have been among the very first that arrived.
Though Shannon was originally scheduled for a 150-day stint on Mir, problems here on Earth caused extensive delays. She was a human experiment of sorts, testing the effects of long-term spaceflight and bonding with her Russian crewmates.
I grew up in the Cold War period in the 50s, and I never, ever thought that I would grow up and be on a Russian space station with 2 Russian men.
Have to be compatible and get along and work together.
They grew up with a fear of America just like I grew up with a fear of Russia. So we were sitting there discussing how strange life is, that here we were, 3 people that grew up mortally afraid of each other, but living and working together and having a good time doing it.
Finally, on September 18th, the Space Shuttle Atlantis came to take Shannon home.
До свидания, Фрегати. До свидания, Мир. До свидания, Shannon. До свидания.
All great adventures have to come to an end sometime, and it was time for this one to end. It's time to come back home, and I was really looking forward to, you know, being with my family and my friends again.
She returned to Earth and a hero's welcome, but Shannon says she's no hero.
It was Shannon Lucid, and hopefully she was just doing the job that was assigned to her to the best of her ability.
She's now back at work at NASA's Johnson Space Center and eager to get back up there.
And if I had the opportunity, I would love to go to Mars and continue on from there, because we have a whole universe to look at and explore.
Last June 16th, while Dr. Lucid was still in space, the Chicago Bulls were establishing a basketball dynasty with another NBA championship. On their team was Dennis Rodman, a man who rarely scores, but whose unconventional life has been one enormous rebound. This year, the best rebounder in the NBA was also a best-selling author. But he didn't quite make it onto the best-dressed list. Not that he didn't try. Is this your teddy, as they say?
Just fun and it's breezy.
Everywhere you looked, you couldn't help but notice Dennis Rodman.
Who wants to be noticed?
At 6'8", with a rainbow of hairstyles and a body covered with tattoos, the 35-year-old basketball star was the center of attention, both on and off the court. And you're comfortable here?
I'm very relaxed here. I mean, this is me.
Though he has grander houses in Dallas and California, when he's in Chicago, he's all business, living here in this unassuming suburban home. Thank you. We spoke in a makeshift bed in his living room, where he often falls asleep in front of the television. Though his outfit was flamboyant, I found him to be sensitive and surprisingly shy. When I was a kid, I played paper dolls. I wish I had this. This is the Dennis Rodman doll, yeah? And it comes with a different color hair, and you dress it up, right?
Stuff like this, I never imagined would ever come true for me, because not many athletes or performers can go out there and say, hey, screw the system, I'm going to be who I want to be.
His has always been a life of startling contrasts. A child of the poor and fatherless, he was all but adopted by a white family in rural Oklahoma. A basketball reject in high school, he shone on the college court and was drafted by the Detroit Pistons in 1986. Though he was now a highly paid NBA star, Dennis was desperately unhappy. It is hard to believe that 3 years ago you sat in your pickup truck with a rifle on your knee, trying to decide whether or not to kill yourself. What changed? What did you decide when you didn't put that bullet in your head?
It was a fine line between killing the individual or killing the imposter that was driving and directing that individual.
Who was the imposter that you killed, and who did you turn into?
Well, I think that I was more mechanical. I was more a follower, instead of trying to develop my own direction and guidance in knowing who I am and why am I here. For some earthly reason, someone has grabbed me by the hand or by the arm and said, hey, let's go. This is your life now.
What does it mean, the outfits, the tattoos, the sunglasses, the velvet hat, the rings, why?
I like doing what I'm doing. It's making me happy, making me feel like I'm a 10-year-old kid.
Part of it is the cross-dressing and the whole business about, is he gay? No, you're not gay. Are you bisexual? You said you're not bisexual. You have a girlfriend, but there's the whole gender stuff. Is that on purpose?
I think I've really enlightened a lot of people's mind and saying, hey, I'm an athlete. If I want to be gay, if I want to be bisexual, that's my business, but you have to like me for who I am. And all I'm doing for me and for other people is just paving the way for people to be themselves.
2 years ago, Dennis Rodman met his match in Madonna, with whom he had a brief but well-publicized affair. She was said to have been crazy about him. Not anymore, since he wrote about their sex life in the most intimate detail.
I could have put a lot more in that to make it worse.
It was enough.
It was enough.
It was enough.
You know, I'm sorry that I wrote that chapter there, and I've always wanted to get away from this Madonna thing, and that just made it even worse.
Madonna wanted to have a baby with you. Are you sorry that you didn't have a baby with her?
No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. I mean, it would have been a horrible thing for me. I don't think that I would have had this kind of year at Chicago. I don't think I would have had the things that was going on just because of Dennis Rodman. I think it would have been Madonna, Dennis Rodman.
Can I ask you to do one thing for me before we leave this interview? Take off the hat and let me see.
Everybody say that to me.
Take off the hat and let me see what color it is.
It's no color. You know, I've been pretty much lazy and just hell with it. I'm thinking about shaving it off. So.
Dennis, thank you.
Well, I don't know what to say, but it's been great. You know, Barbara Walters.
Dennis Rodman. Wow.
Next, good things like Martha Stewart, Tom's terrific year, and the most fascinating person of 1996.
Somewhere in America right now, there are businesswomen shopping for ingredients for the perfect souffle, or gathering materials for a knockout Christmas wreath. And they learned all about it not from their mothers, but from another businesswoman. Thus, our choice, Martha Stewart, as the most fascinating business person of the year. Okay.
Here's your pastry bag filled with royal icing.
Yes.
You twist it and you hold it with one hand and you direct with your other hand. You could just do polka dots.
Oh, well,
you
polka
could do
dots I can do.
curlicues.
You know, it really does look very complicated, and it's very easy. What do you say to women like me who feel inadequate? No kidding.
Well, I've heard what your daughter has said, that you do television.
That's all.
Well, you do television
Mommy
really
brings
well.
the meatloaf. Mommy can only do television.
Well,
but don't you give some women like me an inferiority complex?
Well, I don't want you to have an inferiority complex. I just want to fill your mind, whenever you have a free moment, with great ideas, with great information, with a little bit of inspiration.
As the reigning queen of domesticity, Martha Stewart has introduced the nation to what she calls the good things in life.
I think that I am filling a void in people's lives. I think that I am reestablishing the love of tradition. I am really in the business of teaching.
Tell me your life story in 45 seconds.
Student, Barnard student, stockbroker. And then from stockbrokering, I started a catering business, and it just kindled my curiosity about food, about entertaining, about living well. And then I wrote a book in 1982, which was called Entertaining. I really consider that event very much a turn point in my life, because then I became an expert.
Martha claims to be an expert at so many things that she has become a favorite target for many parodies. There are books and magazines that ask, is Martha Stewart living?
Martha Stewart's worst tips for living. Get ready. Here.
And Martha seems to be in on the joke.
If you notice a guest using the wrong fork, pick up the right fork and jam it into his head.
But Martha's own life is not exactly perfect. It is well known, and you have talked about the fact that after 27 years, your husband left you. Give advice to some of the women who might be going through the same kind of thing.
I think my advice to everyone is to create something that you love in your lifetime. Not only work, but pleasurable things like gardening. Got me through a lot of hard times.
A tulip cutting garden, it's a really good thing.
Well, money's a good thing. Last year, her company earned a reported $200 million, and she is so confident of the future that she's currently in the process of buying back Martha Stewart Enterprises from media giant Time Warner.
Well, it does have visual punch.
Martha pushes her good things with a monthly magazine.
Do you have a favorite?
Yes.
A weekly, soon-to-be daily, TV series.
Her husband very nicely.
How-to books. A line of house paints. And a mail-order company.
I ordered 10 of everything.
And if that weren't enough, next week, Martha will host her annual Christmas special.
A very fragrant reminder of the holidays.
Do you want an enormous empire?
Oh, sure.
You do?
Why not? I mean, I don't care if it's called an empire or
but you know what I mean.
business
More.
or a little, cottage industry. It is truly a cottage industry, but it's grown into like a large cottage.
Okay, and here is my finished cookie. Okay, Martha, is that okay?
Pretty spectacular. Look. I'm going to keep this for. Can I keep this one for my tree?
I don't think so.
It's a very nice.
It's not
Barbara.
bad. I thank you. Listen, if you can do it with me, you can do it for anybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is gorgeous.
Virtually everyone on our list this year is an American, but there was someone we couldn't ignore. Last spring, the peace process in the Middle East seemed to be well on course, and that's why few leaders from President Clinton to Yasser Arafat supported the hardline candidacy of the brash, charismatic Benjamin Netanyahu. but he won by a fraction of a point and took his place as head of a deeply divided Israel. How are you? What a pleasure. When we met him and his third wife, Sarah, in New York, he had more security than any president or pope. Like Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu is under constant threat.
We have undergone the worst odyssey of any people in history. We have risen from the dead.
For 20 years, Benjamin Netanyahu has been known to the world for his passion in leading the call against the enemies of Israel. At the top of his list, PLO leader Yasser Arafat, a man he once called murderer, now his partner in a fragile peace. Do you trust Arafat?
I trust myself to make sure that he will understand that he has to keep his side of the bargain.
As the world waits, all eyes are on the man known since a boy as Bibi. It was his older brother, Jonathan, who seemed destined for greatness, even when they were high school students in Pennsylvania, where their father, an Israeli historian, was a professor. But in 1976, Israeli commandos at Entebbe stormed a jet hijacked by Palestinian terrorists. Jonathan Netanyahu was the only Israeli killed. From his brother's tragic death, a statesman was born. How did your brother's death affect your life?
When he died, it was as though the future died with him. And I dedicated a good portion of my life after his death to wage the moral and political battle against terrorism.
Joining us live now in our New York studios, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's ambassador.
The deliberate,
handsome and telegenic, he was Israel's most articulate advocate, while serving as ambassador to the United Nations and later as Israel's spokesman during the Gulf War. After Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, no one thought Netanyahu, with his extreme views, could ever take his place. Then terrorists killed 60 Israelis only months before the election. The tide turned against the peace plan, and an anguished Israel put Netanyahu in office. There are those who think that your harder line means the end of the peace process. What do you say to those people?
We didn't have peace. We had an agreement that we signed with the Palestinians, which wasn't being fulfilled. We had buses explode in our streets. I think that our more realistic and firm line is the salvation of peace.
Will your grandchildren be living in peace?
Well, my wife asked me that our children will live in peace.
All right. Will your children live in peace?
I hope so. I take my wife and my older son, and we walk in the Jerusalem woods. He's very aware. He's a very intelligent little boy. He asked me a question. He said, what is more important, the mind or the heart? I said, well, what do you think? He said, the heart. I said, why? And he said, well, the heart will always work.
The heart's more important than the mind.
The more I spend time in public life and in life, the more I think that he's right.
This summer, we gave our hearts and minds to the Olympics and a little girl who pulled our heartstrings. Kerry Strugg will forever be remembered as a gymnast who made a stand at the Atlanta Games. This summer, there was a national craze. Everyone, it seemed, wanted to carry Kerry. But now Kerry Strugg must walk on her own 2 feet as a 19-year-old freshman at UCLA.
Okay, so you can show me.
Kerry embodies the true Olympic spirit, the tiny titan from whom little was expected, and ultimately everything was demanded. July 23rd, the Atlanta Games. Kerry Strugg lands a near-perfect second vault on an injured ankle. Her courage secures a gold medal for the U.S. team, and the entire world is witness to the agony of victory.
It was an exciting moment for me and, you know, a moment that has changed my life, but I never realized the impact that I had made on the American public.
The ankle injury meant Kerry could not compete in the individual competition, a dream she has had since starting gymnastics at age 6. Kerry followed in the footsteps of her older sister, Lisa, who was also a successful gymnast. At 12, Kerry dedicated her life to the sport, moving from city to city and coach to coach. But she was always in the shadow of the hottest prodigies, like Shannon Miller and Dominique Moceanu. But this summer in Atlanta, Kerry vaulted out of the shadows and into our hearts.
Well, a lot of people have written and called and just on the streets have told me, you're a hero, you're what all sports are about.
Even heroes need some rest. Now it's time for some well-deserved fun, LA style, with her best friend, Sunshine Smith.
What flavors they have today? Hi, can I try the Heat Crunch?
She is now the golden girl of gymnastics, and one of a handful of Olympians this year who are able to cash in on their celebrity.
This is really good.
Oh, that Hugh Grant? Is it Hugh Grant?
Yeah.
And since she's in Hollywood, why not try a little acting?
What does it take to get a Class E1 around here? What, do you have to win a gold medal or something?
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, right.
You never know. I'm here in California where anything's possible, so we'll see.
Do you have your gold medal on you?
No, I'd like to wear it everywhere, but that would look pretty silly, right?
She is now a volunteer assistant coach for the UCLA women's gymnastics team, with an entire life before her and a revised set of dreams.
My dreams right now are just to get through college and enjoy life, and I've really enjoyed myself in the past month or two, and every day it seems like it's a dream that it didn't really happen.
As it turned out, Kerry never needed to make that second vault. The team would have won the gold anyway. Funny how that doesn't seem to diminish her accomplishments one bit.
Next, the creator of Twister and ER, plus Tom, Elizabeth, and the most fascinating person of 1996. Cruise, Crichton, and more. When Barbara Walters continues with the 10 most fascinating people of 1996, here on ABC.
If you haven't heard about the new book, Airframe, you will. It's a thriller that focuses on the year's scariest issue, airline safety. The fascinating thing is that Michael Crichton had the idea for this book years ago. He's a writer who's paid more than most action stars. One difference, Crichton's muscle is his mind. Do you think you are, I'll put it positively, eccentric or negatively a little weird?
You mean in terms of writing?
Yeah.
I think I'm in the grip of something that's kind of automatic and that I don't understand.
Michael Crichton has talent no one can touch. Try to imagine this year without him. No tornadoes to thrill us. He co-wrote the smash movie, Twister. And no TV show to cure what ails us. He created the hit series, ER. And this year won an Emmy, a first for Dr. Michael Crichton. He had been a high school basketball star, but even at 6'9", it was hard to stand out at Harvard Medical School. What impact has your height had on you?
I felt like a freak. I mean, I really did feel that I was the tallest person in the world.
He paid his way through medical school by writing under an alias until the Andromeda strain. At 27, Crichton hung up his scrubs for good. You studied to be a doctor, became one, and never really liked being one. Why not?
Well, I think I was terrible at it.
Terrible in what way? Bad bedside manner, or?
No, my bedside manner was okay, but when I would see patients, I mean, I would try and think of a new disease that might also be explained. And you don't go to your doctor for a new disease. So my fantasies were too strong.
Were they ever? He wrote book after book, page-turners about man's forays into the dark side of science. Many of these thrillers turned into movies, some of which he directed. A Crichton story always educated while it entertained. We saw what could result from meddling with DNA in Jurassic Park, the highest-grossing film of all time. Rising Sun came from the panic around Japanese investment.
Wait.
And sexual politics in a high-tech computer firm made Disclosure a controversial hit.
Yeah, was that so bad?
And in a year when airline safety troubles us all, his new book, Airframe, is about the investigation of an airplane disaster and the TV news team that will do or say anything to get the story on the air. In Airframe, you are very tough on people like me. I would like to point out that this is our first interview together. But you say TV people are beneath pond scum on the evolutionary scale. You can call me PS for short, pond scum, it's okay with me. You call us on-air correspondents, vain, demanding, pains in the ass. What's the problem?
I didn't say this about you.
No, you said it about TV journalists. I take it all very personally.
What you've quoted are comments by characters who feel they've been burned.
What is your feeling about the way the media handles air crashes?
There's absolutely no question that the public is not getting the significant story. It's not possible to talk about airplane crashes in a minute 40 or in a 9-second soundbite. It can't be done. And yet, television is increasingly the medium which dominates all others.
I want to talk about your writing habits. You eat the same thing for lunch every single day while you're writing a book. Is that true?
I tend to, yes.
Why?
If I could do the whole book in a day, I would. But since I can't, then there's a way of sort of pretending that it's a day by eating the same thing. It's something like that. One book, I think, Congo, was a open-faced hot turkey sandwich with mashed potatoes.
What's your greatest accomplishment?
My family.
Wife and daughter?
That relationship.
Yeah. What if I asked you the greatest work achievement?
The next thing, you know, whatever happens next.
That is often what's most important for these people, the next thing. And the question, what's next, has to be posed to our next choice as she re-enters the workplace after a year of campaigning for her husband. If you believe the opinion polls, one clear message emerged from the election of 1996. Elizabeth Dole is a winner.
Thank you so much.
Who can forget when Elizabeth Dole stepped into the spotlight at the Republican convention?
I'm going to be speaking about the man I love.
The poll said she was more loved than her husband, more popular than Hillary.
Hi there, how you doing?
Day after day, she was Bob Dole's champion and doting wife, as poised and polished as he was unrehearsed. A Harvard-trained lawyer, the only woman to hold 2 cabinet posts, now the head of the American Red Cross, Elizabeth Dole had political power of her own when she married Senator Bob Dole 21 years ago today.
Thank you for all
When she stood by her husband on election night, she was facing a rare loss in a life marked by success. Election night, your husband loses.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say to him?
That I've never been more proud of him than I was at that moment.
We chose you as one of the most fascinating people for a lot of reasons, and people are so interested in your future. Do you want a political career at all?
If at some point there was an option to run for public office at whatever level, it would be something to consider, but it's not something I would have to do to feel fulfilled in life.
Could you imagine one day being president of the United States?
Let me put it this way. I can certainly imagine a woman being president. More than imagine, I think it will probably happen in my lifetime. I think the country's ready, but I have not focused on myself being that person. My focus has been on everything that I could do to be my husband's partner and helpmate. Now I'm focused on fulfilling a commitment that I made to the American Red Cross.
So it's after January, you're back at the Red Cross. You leave the house at, what, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning?
Mm-hmm,
okay,
something
you've got
like
your
that.
briefcase. And your husband is home.
Oh, no. Bob will be so active you won't believe it. Right now, people are calling. All sorts
Really?
of options have already come up. People are already urging him to make decisions. No, I'm going to let him be the one to decide his future.
Offers.
Oh, heavens, yes.
He's not just going to be walking the dog.
No way. No way.
Mrs. Dole, you are a woman with great religious faith. Does that help in times like this?
Well, it helps every day of your life because you know you have a source of strength beyond your own. But this is not a time of suffering for us at all. In fact, Bob was joking as we came home from election night and the next day. He said, people have been very kind to send all these flowers, but he said, we didn't die, we just lost the election. So you accept it, you move forward. You work hard, you pray hard, you leave it in God's hands, and you accept His will.
If the Doles are the ultimate Washington power couple, then the Cruises, Tom and Nicole, are the ultimate Hollywood power couple. This year, at the ripe old age of 34, Tom became a one-man movie empire. He not only starred in the hit Mission Impossible, he produced it. Tom Cruise is a new breed of superstar, half artist, half businessman. Like the character in his new film, he is struggling for balance.
You ready? Yep, let's go.
In Jerry Maguire, his first romantic comedy since Risky Business, Tom Cruise plays a sports agent who has a mid-career crisis of conscience, and it costs him his job.
If anybody else wants to come with me, this moment will be the moment of something real and fun, and we will do it together. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me besides Flipper here? This is embarrassing.
He makes it look easy. Hit movies, a happy marriage to actress Nicole Kidman, and 2 young children, both adopted. But underneath, Tom's far more complicated, driven by a deep-rooted desire to live his life according to a strong moral code. I should point out that you walk in here in a black sweater, absolutely no makeup. You didn't even want powder.
10 minutes for me.
You know, either you think you're great looking or you're very comfortable with yourself. I think it's probably the second, isn't it, the latter?
This is who
you are, and that's it, huh?
Let's not worry about it.
When we talked 4 years ago, you talked about wanting to be a good person. Your mother had always said to you, be a good person. In your terms, what's a good person? And are you?
I think I've done all right. Someone that sticks by their word. I think that people on a daily basis, whether they realize it or not, are dealing with truths and lies and moral choices, and a lot of times that it's very difficult for someone who takes the high road. You know, it's very rough waters and deep waters.
What did you mean when you said once that you like to live life in the red zone?
I don't know. For me, in a lot of ways, it's all or nothing. That's the way I've always been. With my relationships, with my kids, with my work, that's the way it is with our lives, that there's that kind of commitment to each other and also to our work. And
how do you balance it?
That is...
I mean, little kids you want to spend time with, a wife...
Well, it is, there's not enough hours in the day. But, you know, Nick and I think, have been very successful at it so far. And we've been fortunate that, you know, we've never been separated for more than 2 weeks. You know, we've been together for 7 years now.
Well, now you have a girl and a boy. Do you want more? 2 of each, 6 of each?
6, you know, I always thought I was going to have a little army, or at least an infield, you know. But I think we're going to have to see. I'm not sure. I think we'll have some more, but I'm just enjoying these 2 right now.
Is this a good point in your life?
Yeah, I'm definitely at a really, you know, Nick and I talk about it. We say, let's just enjoy every moment.
What's the pits?
The pits have to be the lies that are printed and stuff like that. It has to be the worst part. But I would definitely live with that, with the opportunities that I have creatively.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh my God, 10 years.
I'll come back here, we'll talk again.
We'll talk, I'll be 44. Happy, healthy family and flourishing company and...
Not bad.
Not bad.
And a good person.
A good person. Oh, definitely, hopefully that.
9 down, 1 to go.
In a moment, the most fascinating person of 1996.
Two years ago, you probably couldn't get two people to say he had a chance in '96. He was written off as a one-term president who didn't understand how to play the game. But we have witnessed a carefully crafted rebirth. Okay, so you probably guessed it, but you must agree that regardless of your political beliefs, Bill Clinton is one of the premier politicians of our time. And so he is also our choice as the most fascinating person of 1996. Not since FDR has a Democrat been elected to a second term in office. There was much talk this year about who would build a better bridge to the 21st century. In the end, Americans decided that a savvy and sentimental politician from Hope, Arkansas, had the better plan.
And I thank my beloved mother who is smiling up there and said, I never had a doubt. I always knew it would be this way.
Your mother died of cancer in 1994. What do you think she would say to you now? She must be so much in your thoughts these weeks.
Well, I especially miss her now, you know, because the political season's here. And she loved the convention. She loved the campaign. She loved going out and arguing my case, you know.
Would she give you advice?
Sometimes, but normally she'd just go out and fight for our side. And the only advice she ever gave me was not to get down. If you make a mistake, forget it and go on. And if you're doing well, don't get overconfident. Just bear down and go on.
You know, there is a book written about you with a title that's something like Dreaming of Bill, because more people have said that they have dreamt about you than almost any other person. It's funny, but for whatever reason.
It is funny. Yeah. I can't imagine why.
Well, it exists. Anyway, what do you dream about most?
First of all, most nights when I go to bed, I'm sufficiently tired that when I wake up, I don't remember what I dreamed about. But I do have recurring dreams during the year of being with Hillary in strange places, places I've never been before. And I don't know why that is, but I think it's because when we were younger, right after we got married, we worked very hard, especially before Chelsea was born. But we'd take a couple of trips a year, and in totally unhurried, totally private ways. And I've often said to her that I miss that as much as any part of our life back when we had a real private life.
It will be at least 4 more years until those dreams can come true. What would you like the mark you leave to be?
I would like to be the second president in the history of the country. The first was Theodore Roosevelt, with some help from Woodrow Wilson at the end, to lead this country through a period of dramatic change within America and in the world without a major war. It's only happened once before in our country, it's history, and I'd like that to be my legacy.
Barbara will be back in a moment. Barbara Walters presents The 10 Most Fascinating People of 1996, brought to you by Sears. Come see the softer side of Sears. And by America's pork producers, who invite you to taste what's next with pork, the other white meat.
Okay, I know you may not totally agree with our choices, but I can assure you that your choice for most fascinating person was number 11 on our list. If we only had more time. Thank you for joining us. Good night.